Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Talks with Tammy. I'm Tamara Sterling, or Tammy, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner. So last week I told you a little bit about what QHHT is and what you can expect if you have a session. This week I'd like to share a little bit about my own experience having a session. So about a year and a half ago, I scheduled my own session with a practitioner from St. Petersburg, Florida. And maybe like you, I was wondering how it would go, what it would feel like, if I would just fall asleep and wake up after it was over, if I would remember anything. And then I was concerned, what are they going to tell me? Are they going to tell me things I don't want to deal with right now? Or are they going to say I should do something, shouldn't do something? And so I had a lot of questions going into it. And this was after I had already taken the training to become a practitioner. So it did take me 2 attempts to go to my session. And when I got there, it was a Saturday. And what was unusual was during my induction phase of the session, there ended up being a lot of construction work outside of the building. And there was a lot of people talking and being very loud inside the building. And after the session, my practitioner said, "It is never that noisy here, ever." And I said, well, I was kind of wondering if somebody was trying to prevent me from, having the session. And she shared her perspective, which was no, it seemed more like they wanted to let you know that even amongst all the chaos, you are still able to focus, and that is one of your gifts. And I got to thinking about that, and she's right. I do try during my counseling sessions and my QHHT sessions to be very present with the person and to focus entirely on them and what they're experiencing. So the first hour of my session was getting to know me, my history, my background, and the questions, going over the questions that I brought that I wanted to find out about. So I found even that first hour was so healing and cathartic. I shared so much that I wanted to get off my chest that I'd been holding on to sometimes for years, like we all tend to do. And then when we started the induction, I didn't really know what to expect, but I did go under fully. And what I ended up doing was having 5 different life experiences before we called in the higher self. So today I'd like to talk about 2 of those experiences and then share the other 3 next week. So my experience, and it can be different for everyone, is that I got visual pictures, I got auditory sounds, and I also got smells. And then there was also a sense of knowing things, just kind of knowing what's happening in the scene. So the visual pictures, though, were more of a muted tones, like a grayscape kind of thing, very muted. It wasn't very bright and visual, but it gave me a general idea of what was happening. So in the first session, life experience, I ended up going into a Indian village that had teepees and things like that. It was kind of like a day-to-day. People were just going about their business. And I sensed that I was the tribe leader. But I was also, we also had a group of elders that had input into what the tribe did. So I wasn't alone in decision making. Well, what I sensed about the experience was that the elders were very cautious, of course, and they didn't want to go into battles unnecessarily and things. But I tended to be reckless and impulsive and felt like they were stifling my power, my role in the tribe. So what I did was I ended up making decisions to take us into battles and things like that, where I actively participating and taking lives, as well as, having my tribe members do the same. So she moved me ahead to a day that there was a battle happening, and it was very loud and chaotic. Now, it wasn't scary. It was like I was observing it. So I didn't really feel the emotions, just kind of like what was happening was the picture I was getting. And then it went very quiet as the battle ended, and there were casualties on both sides and things like that. Then finally she moved me to the last day of that life. And again, it's not a scary process. You don't have to experience the pain, the physical pain or the emotional pain. It's just kind of an understanding of what it was like. So I was an old lady, and I had regrets. I had regrets that I was so impulsive and that I misused my power. So another life experience then that I went into, I was like a 4-year-old girl in like Kansas in the 1950s or so, and we lived on a farm, and I was very much actively being abused by my mother in that life, on a frequent basis. So physical abuse, emotional abuse, and so when I came into the scene, I was like hiding out in the outbuildings, trying to stay away from her, running around, hiding, just staying out of her way. She was calling out to me, trying to find me. That day, nothing happened. She didn't find me. But when we moved ahead in that life, then I went into what ended up being the last day of that life, and I was 4 years old. I was wearing a skirt or a dress that was kind of torn and dirty. I was bare feet. I was dirty, mud all over me, hair tangled. But I was hiding in the basement of our house, trying not to breathe because I didn't want her to find me. And I knew that if she did, it would be the end for me. And I saw like her legs walking down the stairs. She had black shoes on with white stockings and like a muumuu dress, and she was a heavy-set lady, and I could hear her yelling for me. I couldn't hear the name she was calling me, but I did hear, like, "Where are you? I'm going to find you." And I saw her walking down the steps. Now, in that life, then I knew we didn't really necessarily visualize the death process, but I knew that I had been strangled by her. So when we asked why I was shown those two lives, it was very interesting. The higher self gave us a lot of insight to that. So one of the things I struggle with in this current life is standing up for myself, using my voice, kind of not letting people walk all over me, kind of thing. So what the higher self said was that in the Indian princess warrior life that I had the power, but I also was accountable to other people, and I misused the power, and I knew what it was like to kill other people. And in the little girl life, then I didn't have power at all, and I was very much the victim of being killed. And the higher self said that I needed to know and understand the darkness to be able to bring the light in this life, in this current incarnation. So I needed to understand what it was like to kill and to be killed, like the darkest of the darkest that happens here on earth, so that I could have more empathy and compassion for those around me in this life, and I could be a better service to others. So I thought those two experiences were very interesting. Now, like I said, that they weren't scary to go through. It was just like a knowing, a knowledge, a remembrance that allowed me to see how they tie into this current life. And as a side note too, in this current life, since I was strangled in that little girl life, I've always known, so it was kind of validated for me, I've always known I can't stand things around my neck. Scarves, forget about it. Turtlenecks, can't do it. So that explains why I can't handle that stuff in this life. So if you have a weird kind of phobia that you're not sure where it might have come from, maybe you're scared of bridges, or you have a phobia about different things, childbirth even, it could be that it's related to a past life, and you're still carrying that remembrance, not consciously, but subconsciously carrying that remembrance of that life. So I hope that gave you a little bit of insight to how the process works, those two life experiences, and how they reflect on the current incarnation that I'm at. And next week I am going to share more about the 3 other experiences that I had, and a little bit more about what the higher self said. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.